Show you a fly that I came up with quite a few years ago, and how it came about is I fish mostly the Huron River, and which is mostly smallmouth. It's a warm water river, but I also fish trout. It's not that far away from me to fish for trout, and there's certain flies that you stick with that you have confidence in, I guess maybe is the term, and so I would always seem to go back for my dry fly fishing to either a caddis, a Madam X, or a fly called the Cooper. And they all had properties that I really liked. I loved the Madam X because it had rubber legs, but it was tied with elk hair, and it was a number of steps to tie it, and it would get waterlogged. This fly, the Cooper, was tied with deer hair, and I love deer hair because the deer hair is actually hollow. It has its own kind of coloring change that's really nice, and it just was a great fly. It just worked really well, but it didn't have legs. And the caddis was also a good shape in that there's always a caddis hatch, and it kind of looks a caddis sort of is similar to a grasshopper, so it had a lot of things going for it too. Again, but it was tied with elk hair, which sinks a lot. They just get waterlogged. So I said, well, why don't I just combine the best of all three worlds? Because was clueless actually about fly tying. I didn't realize that there was special patterns. The other thing that kind of came about at the same time was I knew a number of guides, and guides have what they call guide flies. And guide flies are the guides know what, their job is to get you on a fish. That's just really their primary job. And they want to have flies that work, but they don't want to spend a lot of time tying them, So a guide fly is typically, one or two or three materials, and then boom, right away, you can lose it and it's not a big deal because you got clients that are throwing flies all over the place. So that's kind of the flies that I tie I call them guide flies myself because they're not really nice flies, but they work, okay? So the fly I came up with, and this one's got kind of an odd color to it, is I call it the Prime Mouradian, and it's basically, it takes about 2 minutes to tie. It's peacock curl on the bottom, underneath. So it has a great, this is kind of what it looks like to the fish when it's a dry fly. And on top it has, but this is all deer hair up here. And then legs, usually I use white legs, and the ones I'm going to tie right now are white legs, but I wanted to show off kind of what it looks like. And one of the cool properties of deer hair is it changes color. So we're going to tie one of these. I'm going to show you this fly. One thing you don't want to do is like wear it on a patch on you because the fish will come up and they'll just leap and attack you like that. So you want to be careful about it. So I tie these mostly in 10s or 12s, usually dry fly hook, usually not very expensive. I tie 1 million of these because I want to be able to lose them because I toss these right up against the shore. So here we go. We're going to bring this down here to my vise. And we're going to see how this works. So we're going to stick this in the vise. There we go. That's my Dan vise. I hope you can see it. I'm going to flip this up so maybe you can see it a little better. So this is a number 12 hook, and I'm just going to cover it. Thread I use everything. I use black thread. I've used red thread. This is a green thread, and I put all the thread on there till it just gets to about the bend of the hook. Okay, And then we'll take this and trim that off. Then I'll take some peacock curl, and usually about 3 pieces, 3 or 4, depending upon the thickness of this. Here, I'll just stick with 3. I'll stick to what I do. I find the end there, just trim it off and tie it in the back. You want to tie that in real well. Now, what I do is I just wrap this forward, and you see how I'm keeping it in my hand, and basically it spreads it out. You take it up to the eye and then just bring it back. This saves you moving your thread all around, all over. So I have basically 2 wraps of 3 peacock curl on there. And right there you have a good fly, okay? So that's the first step. The next step is you want some nice fur, and the fur you want, I have to tell you a story about this fur, by the way. There is a guy, he's passed away since, named Chris Helm. He's like the king of deer flies, and he collected deer hides from all over Michigan. And I went over to him and I said, he was in Toledo, and I said, Chris, I need some deer hair for my flies. And he goes, well, what do you mean deer hair? He says, you got to tell me what you're tying. So I showed him one of my flies, and he looked at it for a while and he said, okay, you need it from late October, Hillsdale County. And then he went out to his garage, which had maybe 1,000 pelts, and he found his late October Hillsdale County flies. Okay, so he knew deer hair more than anyone else. So you're going to take your deer hair, you're going to pull up, I don't know how much that is. That's actually quite a bit, but like about that much, okay? Now, most people stack the deer hair, and I don't. Again, but what I will do is I'll hold it from the tips, and I'll tap it like this. And if I were prepared, I even have a comb sometimes, but you just want to get the fluff out of there, okay? And any of the short ones. So I've got these all done. Then you see how the end is all kind of scraggly? That's good. So I'm going to grab this about the length of the body. I'm going to grab it right about there. Now here is the trick. You pull out some of your thread, you wrap it around the hair, and then bring it all down. And what that does is that keeps, and then a couple loose wraps, and that keeps the hair up on top. And then give it a pull. And deer hair will do that. That's kind of a cool part. And wrap it a few times around there. You want that good and tight. Okay? Then you bring this up, pull out any more junk you have in there, and we're going to take this lighter color. And when I'm tying this myself, literally, I don't spend nearly this amount of time on it. I seem to be taking more time than usual. I'll take this, and then you grab your line and your thread and wrap it around that thing coming up a couple times. And again, that keeps it like in a tube. And then you bring it around the bottom and pull it down, and then wrap it around a few times. This is right behind the head, right behind the eye of the hook. We've got a stray one there. You can pull that out, and then give it a pull. Okay. Then gather these guys up. Come back, wrap a couple times loosely till you're about, well, maybe halfway or like a third of the way back. Wrap it around a couple times loosely. Pull, and see how that flares that out. Wrap that around 2-3 times. You want a nice tight wrap on there. Then all you do, there's some white leg material, and you grab a couple legs. You got 2 legs there, and we're going to put them on either side. Wrap it around loosely a couple times, and then tug, and then you can straighten this out, clean up any of the junk you have there. Wrap it around a couple more times. And then you can half hitch or whip fish or do whatever you want. I just tend to half hitch it like this with my hands. I'm less likely to lose. I can find my fingers most every time. Let's do that a few times. That's just a half hitch. If you wanted to, you could, let's see, do I have a half hitch tool here? No, I don't. Okay. But, you know, basically if you had a half hitch tool, you could just do this and do it over the tip also, okay? Trim that off, and your fly is done. And you can just break off anything that doesn't quite look right. Now, what's great about this fly is you cast it from the middle of the river. You can cast it to the shore and let it drift down as a dry fly. Okay, maybe even a little wiggle now and then to get the legs working. At that point, it swings around, and as it's swinging, typically it'll go underwater. And what I've discovered is that right at the end of the swing, when the tension on the line builds up, it starts to come up. And I think it looks like an emerger to fish. And at that point, it'll be right at the end of the swing. And as this thing is coming back up to the surface, you'll get a strike. If not, you can just pull it back, one or two false casts, not even a false cast, just a half false cast. It dries off, and then you cast back again. And that fly will go on and on. But if you lose it, it didn't take any time to tie. So I'm just going to do one in real time here. See how quickly I normally do this. So I end up, I just sit here and I'll tie a few dozen of these. And the other nice thing is I like to give them to people. So whenever I meet somebody on the stream, especially if they're a new person and they're not having luck catching fish, I give them one of these. And I don't know if it's confidence. I just tell them this will catch all the fish you need to catch. And people are very excited that they've got a free fly from somebody who looks like they know what they're doing. I don't really actually know what I'm doing. But, so here's the peacock curl. Just goes on the end like this. Okay. I have a rotary device. I never even use it for that. So now I'm going to take my peacock curl. There's 3 pieces there. And I'm going to wrap it forward. And by wrapping it, I'm also twisting it like this and then holding it. I don't use hackle pliers because then they wouldn't twist. But this allows it to twist. Then I'll just wrap the end down. And sometimes I'll even leave a little bit at the end there. I don't know why, but I do. And then I'll take some of my deer hair, pull that off, trim it. By the way, try to buy deer hair from actual dealers, because people will say, oh, I get deer all the time, I'll give you a piece of the hide. And then you get it, and then there's bugs in it, and then they'll eat all your other materials. Trust me, I know why. So now I'm measuring the length of that tail. So I'll stick my finger here. Again, wrap it around the whole thing, and then wrap it 2 times gently. Then give it a tug, then wrap it a few more times. Then kind of get this all into a little tube up there, wrap it around once or twice, and then bring it down. And again, that keeps it all on the surface. And then take this, pull it back, wrap gently till you get up to about a third, Wrap it a few more times. And you get a stray one like this, you just pull it off. And then we get our legs. Put a leg on either side. This fly, when it's underwater, it pushes, what they say, it pushes a lot of water. And I think it's the legs and everything. And what it will do, there it is. And it causes enough of a disturbance that the fish just go crazy for it. And again, I just put a couple half hitches. And all I'm doing with a half hitch is basically my finger is going down. It's going towards the pointy part of my finger. And then I have both fingers actually in there. And then I wrap it around and pull it through. And that's basically creates a knot. And sometimes I do a double. And then I'll put it through. There's a knot. If you are really desperately nervous about this this coming apart, you can flip it over and just put a drop of crazy glue there, and that'll tie everything together. And again, the point is that this fly will there it is. This fly is dispensable. There's a joke I always say. I say at the beginning of the season, I take a dozen of these and just throw them in the trees, and then that way that kind of gets that over with. So I don't know if that works or not. It's a good joke anyway. So that's my fly. I'm giving it to the world, and that's it right there. I mean, it's a very simple fly. It has a very nice profile on the bottom. It kind of changes colors, as you can see. Maybe you can't see, but changes color. It looks like a bug, and the fish just go crazy for it. And it's always a joke, even when we're trout fishing with friends and we use all our special flies and all that kind of stuff. We'll use, whenever I go to a fly shop, I always buy a dozen flies, different kinds of flies. So I have a ton of flies that I don't use. But we'll be using all these cool flies and, what they told us and what's hatching and isonychia and whatever. And then at the end, we say, well, let's just pull out the Prime Mouradian. Let's see what happens. It's amazing. I just catch a fish every time. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed this fly tying one. If you like fly tying, ask me, what kind of fly you want me to demonstrate. I'll probably do a better job. I'll have a more close-up camera and stuff. But I thought I'd do this. I think the last time I did one of these fly tying videos was maybe many years ago for this particular fly. And a lot of people always ask about it. So there you go. So please subscribe, comment. Please comment. I love the comments. I try to answer every comment if there's a question in it. A lot of times it'll just be, you're just a crazy person, go away. So, but other than that, I do answer all of them. And I like, even if it's critical, I like hearing about it. So there you go. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye.